Kleigh Hathaway. I'm a public defender for San Francisco, and I represent Garret Doty in this criminal prosecution against him. I just want to say a few things. The first is that when I first spoke with you all, I said this was going to be a case of self-defense, and that was before we knew much of what we have learned in the last 24 hours. It's dismaying to find that the prosecution is continuing with this prosecution in light of the fact that the district attorney and the police have now reason to believe that Mr. Carmignani was involved in eight separate acts of violence. These 8 separate acts of violence were perpetrated against people who are homeless. The district attorney and the police gave us, the defense, yesterday these police reports because they believe these acts are related to Mr. Carmignani. I have reviewed these police reports. They date back to November of 2021. The most recent one is January of 2023. In all of them, the victims are not housed. The victims are either asleep in their tents, sitting on a bench, minding their own business. And in all of them, this man, who is described as 6 feet, 6'1", 280, 300 pounds, gray hair, brown hair, very similar, matching what Mr. Carmignani looks like, right? So these incidents are being reported over the last 2 years. And fortunately, one of them was caught on video. I am working with my office currently to get that released, but I can tell you that that video is shocking. That video shows a man asleep on the sidewalk. Coincidentally, I wanted to say, all of these incidents happen within about 4 blocks of Mr. Carmignani's residence on near where he lives in the Marina. So the one that's on video shows on the same street that Mr. Carmignani lives, it shows a man asleep on the sidewalk outside, and I would bet anything it's Mr. Carmignani. He walks up and he sprays with a massive can of bear spray, the same weapon used in the Doty incident. He sprays this bear spray at the homeless, not just passing by, but focusing on the victim's face for at least a few seconds. And then he walks away. So, like I said, I'm working with my office to release that video. I am confident that my client knew of his prior violence because I now have a video that shows the initial altercation, and it shows Mr. Carmignani going after Mr. Doty. He is making himself big. He is pursuing Mr. Doty, who is running away. And the first thing that Mr. Doty does when he realizes it's Mr. Carmignani coming at him, is he ducks out of the way with his coat covering his head, implying he knows and has been subjected to the violence of the bear spray in prior incidents. That is relevant because it explains why Mr. Doty acted like he did on the day he was arrested. That why he was going after, in part of the video, Mr. Carmignani. Because in fact, he knew Mr. Carmignani is the aggressor, is the violent person, and I'm confident that once all of this comes out, well, I'm hopeful that the district attorney will dismiss the case. I hope that they will see this for what it's worth, and they will end up dismissing the case against Mr. Carmignani.
When will we find out if it will be dismissed?
I don't know. That's the district attorney's decision. Dismissing the case against Doty, correct. Right. Sorry? No. The ruling, what happened today is we are waiting to see whether or not the preliminary hearing is going to start today. Because they have many witnesses, they could start the hearing with only one of the police, with a police officer, and not call Mr. Carmignani.
The judge made a decision on whether or not your client will be released?
She did not release him.
Can the judge take any of those accusations even into consideration?
I mean, I think she did, but yeah, I mean, she can, yes.
Just checking, did the judge also reach a decision on whether the case would be continued to tomorrow?
No, we're waiting for a courtroom to see if we actually can start the preliminary hearing today.
And we don't know what time they'll tell you that. We're just waiting. Are you confident they will dismiss the charges against Mr. Doty?
Yes. Whether or not it comes to 12 people of citizens of San Francisco and a not guilty verdict, that's either going to happen or they're going to dismiss first. Because I'm absolutely confident that they will not get a guilty verdict in this case.
Has the DA got any statement from Mr. Carmignani?
So Mr. Carmignani has refused talking to the police and the district attorney since this occurred. From the day this happened, when he was heard telling his girlfriend not to talk to the police, he yelled that at her when he overheard her talking to the police, as well as he refused to talk to the police. As the district attorney said today, they have reached out to Mr. Carmignani and his attorneys numerous times since April 5th, trying to get a statement, and he has continued to refuse. Yeah.
Has he been subpoenaed, Carmignani, at this point?
According to the district attorney, they have not subpoenaed him.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
You bet.
It's from an incident that occurred on January 6th of 2021.
What are we looking at there?
It is a I'm sorry, misspoke. This is from November 6th of 2021, and it occurred on the sidewalk of Magnolia, which is the street that Mr. Carmignani lives on. It is at about 10:30 at night. You see an individual who is not housed, and he is asleep. He's totally asleep. And the individual who you see walking, and you see this white sort of trail, that is bear spray or pepper spray, who knows what it is. But the man who's walks up to the sleeping homeless person and sprays it in his face. He kind of pauses for a couple seconds and sprays it. The homeless person tries to sit up, and even as he sits up, the man follows his face and continues to spray him.
So you're saying that that's Carmignani spraying a homeless person?
Absolutely. I've seen the video, and you can, you know how you see people walk and you kind of recognize their walks. It is the same person that we see on this video, which is from the incident. So this is a still from the incident on April 5th of 2023. And you can see this individual right here walking from the corner, and I am saying, based on my comparison of that, they're the same people. Additionally, it's the district attorney and the police who have given us these police reports because they believe these prior police reports, of which is the one in November, are related to the case with Mr. Carmignani. So it's not just me, it's the police and the district attorney who believe that they are related.
And the date of this one here?
Is November, I keep forgetting, November 6th of 2021.
And this information was just given to the defense yesterday? What do you make of that?
It's late discovery, meaning that I know from the inspectors chronological, they obtained this information on the 10th of April. And I think that it has a lot to do with the disorganization in the district attorney's office, who's being responsible for other cases. This case in particular was reassigned to the district attorney who's on this case today. It was only reassigned yesterday. The former district attorney, I can't speak to why I wasn't given the information. I in fact, as is my practice, I asked multiple times for videos and were given them yesterday.
Put your contention that your client is actually the victim in this case.
Well, I mean, I think I would say that my client was acting in lawful self-defense. Because how the law works is that it says you may take into account prior acts of violence of the victim if the defendant knew of them. And the defendant certainly knew of them, because one of the police reports from a few months ago documents an assault with a bear spray and a physical assault, and the two victims in that case are these individuals who have been mentioned in the Doty case. This individual named Nathaniel and this woman named Ashley. They were two people who have basically camped out in that neighborhood. Those two individuals were assaulted by Mr. Carmignani, I believe, just months before. And when you look at Mr. Doty's behavior, he's clearly running away from Mr. Carmignani in a way that's trying to protect himself. He's pulling his jacket over his head and running away, as if he is very familiar with Mr. Carmignani's behavior in these circumstances.
Is that the January 6th incident you were referring to that Doty was aware of, or is that totally different?
It's a totally different one. I think it's Ashley and Nathaniel. Ashley and Nathaniel were assaulted by by someone who looked like Mr. Carmignani on December 7th of 2022.
So Carmignani has a history of this, is what you're saying?
I'm saying from November, yes, he has a history of this. From November 2021 through January 6th of 2023, there are 8 separate documented incidents. We have no idea how many undocumented incidents there are.